We're about to read and go through the 18-page documentation that was released on the Julio Foolio case. We're going to read through the whole thing and break it down. Now, before we get into it, let me ask you guys a question. While everybody else is going viral saying that the girl was at the celebration with birthday party with Julio Foolio, right? Everybody's saying she was there, that Alicia was there when she dropped the low. Who was the only blog saying she wasn't there? Who was the only blog asking for somebody to point her out? Show me where she at. I told you guys she wasn't there. The girl never was at no party celebrating nothing with Julio Foolio, bro. Now let me tell you this. One of the suspects was calling the girl so that she could call one of the guys that was at the Julio Foolio party, right? Celebrating or whatnot. He was asking her, call dude that you know over there and ask him what they're doing, what they're about, what's their last location type. Because they had lost sight of him at one time. So that tells me that nobody in that party dropped the low on purpose. If anything, they did it by accident, but nobody in that party dropped the low or set Julio Foolio up. The paperwork will show you they were following Julio Foolio based on his social media posts. That's when it started moving. As soon as he dropped and announced that he was having a pool party, the paperwork will show that they were tracking it based on that. Let's get into it.
Pursuant to 5907.041, there is substantial probability, based on the defendant's past and present patterns of behavior, the criteria set forth in Florida Statute 903.046, and other relevant facts that the defendant poses a threat of harm to the community because the defendant is presently charged with crimes that qualifies as a dangerous crime, as defined by Florida Statute 907.041, to wit, first-degree premeditated murder, a capital felony, FS, and Florida Statute 907.04, to wit, conspiracy to commit first-degree premeditated murder, a first-degree felony, Florida Statute 782.04.1 and 777.04, and there is a substantial probability that the defendant committed such crime. The factual circumstances of the crime indicates a disregard for the safety of the community, and there are no conditions of release reasonably sufficient to protect the community from the risk of physical harm to persons. The defendant planned with 4 other individuals to travel to Tampa from Jacksonville to kill the victim, Charles Jones, as retaliation in ongoing Jacksonville gang war, bringing 2 AR-style rifles and a Glock firearm. The defendants tracked the victim and his friends to 3 public locations. At the last location, which occurred in the parking lot of a hotel, 3 of the defendants got out of their vehicle masked and armed and began firing multiple times at 3 vehicles containing the victim and several other individuals. As a result of the continuous, rapid gunfire, Charles Jones was killed and 3 others were injured by gunfire. The 2 rifles had brass catchers attached which collected all of the spent casings which were ejected when the rifles were being shot. 31 9mm spent casings were left behind from the Glock at the scene. This pre-planned and coordinated homicide of the victim was conducted in a manner indicating a disregard for the safety of the community. The armed assailants intentionally fired a barrage of bullets in a public parking lot of a hotel while targeting the victim in the case, and as a result, 3 other individuals were injured by the gunfire. In addition, the defendant, Isaiah Chance, was placed on an ankle monitor for opposing or resisting a law enforcement officer in Jacksonville, Florida. Approximately a week before his arrest on this case, the defendant made statements to Detective Richard Nieder of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office that once he gets off the monitor, he will flee the state and never wants to be seen again. The defendant is a flight risk. 2. Pursuant to 5907.041, the defendant is arrested for 2 dangerous crimes that are a capital felony, a life felony, or a felony of the first degree, and the court determines that there is probable cause to believe the defendant committed the offenses as defined by Florida Statute 907.041, to wit, 1 count of first-degree murder, a capital offense, FS 782.04, Florida Statute 907.041, to wit, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, first-degree felony, and there is a substantial probability that the defendant committed such crimes, and based on the defendant's past and present patterns of behavior, consideration of the criteria in Florida Statute 5903.046, and any other relevant facts, that no conditions of release or bail will reasonably protect the community from risk of physical harm, ensure the presence of the defendant at trial, or assure the integrity of the judicial process. As previously stated, the defendant is a flight risk, and approximately a week prior to being arrested for these offenses was wearing an electronic monitor on an unrelated offense. The defendant made statements to law enforcement that once he gets off the monitor, he will flee the state and never wants to be seen again. The defendant is not a resident of Hillsborough County and has no known ties to the community. Therefore, no conditions of release or bail will ensure the presence of the defendant at trial. 3. In the alternative, should the court determine that the defendant does not meet the requirements for pretrial detention based on Florida Statute 907.041, the state would ask the defendant be held without bond according to the Florida Constitution Article 1, Section 14, since the defendant is charged with a capital offense, one count of 1-degree premeditated murder, and the proof of guilt is evident, or the presumption is great. See State v. Arthur 390, so 2D 7117, Florida 1980, Preston v. G 133, so 3D 1218, Fla 2 DCA 2014, State v. Fox 647, so 2 1051, Fla 5 page DCA 1994, and Rule 3.131. Factual basis between 06/21/24 and 06/23/24. Defendants Isaiah Chance, Alicia Andrews, Sean Gathright, Davian Murphy, and Rashad Murphy conspired to commit the first-degree premeditated murder of Charles Jones, also known as Julio Foolio. Charles Jones was a prominent documented member of the Jacksonville street gang 6 Block. All defendants traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa on 06/22/24 in 2 separate vehicles, a silver Chevy Cruze and a black Chevy Impala, to locate and kill Charles Jones in retaliation for an ongoing Jacksonville rival gang war. Defendant Isaiah Chance is a documented ATK member. Defendant Rashad Murphy is a documented 1200 gang member, and defendant Davion Murphy is a documented 1200 gang associate. There is an ongoing rival gang war between 6 Block and the 2 allied gangs, ATK and 1200. On 06/23/24, Isaiah Chance and his girlfriend Alicia Andrews were in the silver Chevy Cruze. They tracked and followed the victim and his entourage to 2 separate locations: Teaser's Gentlemen's Club located at 9700 N Nebraska Tampa, FI 33612, and Truth 18 nightclub located at 4819 E Bush BLVD number 204 Tampa, FL 33617. The victim, Charles Jones, was scheduled to make appearances at both Teasers and Truth 18, which were advertised publicly via his Instagram account, Julio Foolio. At both locations, they got out of their vehicle, and Chance can be seen on video surveillance cameras utilizing a cellular phone, which the investigation revealed was Alicia Andrews' phone. Call detail records showed Andrews' phone was communicating with Sean Gathright's phone, who was in the second vehicle, the Chevy Impala. In addition, Isaiah Chance had his own phone, which was active in the vicinity of the murder scene. While Chance was seen on camera using Andrews' phone outside of the vehicle, Chance was wearing a black hoodie with a distinctive red logo on it. After the cell phone communication, the second suspect vehicle, a black Chevy Impala, arrived at those locations. Both suspect vehicles then followed the victim and his entourage to the scene where the homicide later occurs at the Homes 2 Suites, located at 111606 McKinley Doctor, Tampa, Florida, within Hillsborough County. The victim was traveling in a 3-car convoy with other friends and acquaintances. At Homes 2 Suites, the silver Chevy Cruze drives by the victim's parked vehicles twice and leaves. Then 3 shooters get out of the black Chevy Impala armed and begin shooting at the victim's vehicles, killing Charles Jones and shooting victims number 2, Zyver Edwards, number 3, Gino Norris, and number 4, Camia Bentley. Based on the investigation, The three shooters in the black Chevy Impala are Rashad Murphy, Sean Gathright, and Davion Murphy. Based on the video surveillance footage of the murder at approximately 0434 hours on 06/23/24, the suspect Impala can be seen arriving at the intersection and took the same path of travel as the victims into the home's 2 suites parking lot. The victims had parked on the south side of the building near an overhang by the front door. The Impala instead made a hard right and drove the long way around the home 2 suites as if to avoid line of sight with the victims. At 0437 hours, the crews can be seen driving south on N. McKinley at a high rate of speed, running a red light, and pulling into the home's 2 suites parking lot. The crews did not take the long way around. Instead, it passed the victims along the south side and then made a U-turn on the west side of the building as the Impala parked. The crews then drove back the way it came in and passed the victims a second time before leaving the parking lot. At approximately 0438 hours, 3 shooters exit the parked Impala and begin working their way towards the victim's location on foot. A Tesla camera in Sentry mode captured not only both suspect vehicles driving right in front of it, but also all 3 shooters on foot passing it to get to the victims. The 3 shooters were described as follows. Shooter 1 was an average-sized male with dark skin exposed above his face mask, wearing military-style black leather boots, long dark jeans with a rip in the left knee, a black leather belt, and dark black hoodie. Shooter 1 was armed with a pistol that had a visible extended magazine sticking out of it. Shooter 1 carried that pistol in his left hand and shot it with his left hand. Shooter 2 was a skinny male, taller, wearing a dark blue hoodie and long black pants. Shooter 2 had a lighter skin complexion showing above his face mask to the top of his hood and in a break from his gloves to his sleeve. Shooter 2 was armed with a long AR-style rifle that had a bag attached to the ejection port side, consistent in appearance to black mesh brass catcher. Brass catchers are designed to be attached to rifles for the purpose of collecting spent casings, as they are ejected from the firearm, preventing them from falling on the ground. Shooter 3 was heavier than the other 2 shooters and was wearing all black clothing with an orange ski mask on. Shooter 3 was also armed with an AR-styled rifle, equipped with an apparent brass catcher. Shooter 1 fired the first shots directed at the windshield of Charles Jones's Dodge Charger. The muzzle rate of the flashes on video, along with the impacts on the windshield, made it apparent the pistol that Shooter 1 was armed with was firing at a fully automatic rate. Ultimately, 31 9mm spent shell casings were recovered in the area, consistent with where shooter number 1 stood. Shooters 2 and 3 with the rifles also appeared to target Charles Jones's vehicle. However, the Nissan Altima, which was positioned approximately 10 feet south of Charles, Jones' Charger appeared to have been intentionally targeted as well, as multiple bullet strikes hit its back window and ultimately one of those struck victim Norrie 14. No spent rifle casings were recovered at the scene, further confirming the rifles were equipped with brass catchers. The 31 9mm casings were analyzed and were determined to have likely been fired by a Generation 5 Glock. Based on the video surveillance footage obtained at Teasers, Truth 18, and at Home 2 Suites, the occupants, Chance and Andrews, of the Chevy Cruze are acting as lookouts and tracking the movements of the victims by first placing the targeted victim, Charles Jones, in their line of sight before the occupants of the Chevy Impala arrive at the first 2 locations and before the occupants of the Chevy Impala get out of the vehicle to shoot the victims while seated in their vehicles at Home 2 Suites location. A license plate reader (LPR) search was conducted for all vehicles matching the make, model, and year range of the suspect vehicles, with guidance of having likely traveled from Jacksonville, FL to Tampa, FL. The results of the LPR research revealed a possible tag for the black Chevy Impala suspect vehicle as Florida tag, which was registered to a black 2008 Chevy Impala LTZ at defendant Sean Gathwright's address. Research revealed a possible tag for the silver Chevy Cruze as Florida tag, which was registered to a 2018 silver Chevy Cruze from Jacksonville. The Cruze was registered to a female who was confirmed to have shared an address with defendant Rashad Murphy's blood brother, currently in prison. Photos from the license plate readers confirmed both vehicles were a consistent match to include color, tint, rims, trim, and all other physical characteristics to the suspect vehicles as they were seen on camera, to include the damage on the silver Cruze. The LPR research determined both vehicles left the Jacksonville area in the afternoon of 06/22/24, around the same time that the victim began posting on Instagram offering to share his address at the Airbnb. The following listed LPR hits confirmed the path of travel of both vehicles from Jacksonville to Tampa. Silver Chevy Cruze FL. The LPR hits confirmed both vehicles traveled in a south direction from the Jacksonville area to the Tampa area prior to the homicide, and then left the Tampa area in the afternoon following the homicide. The Cruze traveled back towards Jacksonville, and the Impala traveled east towards Polk County. At least 4 of the hits registered at the same readers at the same time within seconds apart. The 4 hits where both vehicles were following each other include westbound on Highway 326 at NW Gainesville Ard within the same minute at 18:09 hours on 06/22/24, southbound on 1-75 at 1275 within the same minute at 1939 Harson 06/22/24, southbound on Bruce B. Downs at Tampa Palms BVD within 1945 to 1947 hours, and eastbound on E. Hillsborough Ave at N15th Saint in the same minute at 342 hours on 6/23/24. 2 of the 4 hits together were within the city of Tampa. The second hit of both vehicles together in the city of Tampa is just approximately 53 minutes prior to both vehicles being seen arriving at the offense scene on camera. The LPR research revealed that on 05/28/24, less than a month before this murder, a BMW bearing FL tag Dacia 53DUN, registered to defendant Isaiah Chance, was photographed in the driveway of defendant Sean Gathwright's house by an LPR equipped on a tow truck. The suspect black Impala was registered under the name of Sean Gathwright's mother. However, it was determined to be primarily driven by Sean Gathwright as his personal vehicle. Both vehicles were placed into FCIC NCIC as felony wanted vehicles. On 06/26/24 at approximately 06:45 hours, Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office located the suspect 2018 Silver Cruze pulling into a hotel parking lot at 5945 Oakbrook, PKWY Norcross, GA 3093. Gwinnett deputies attempted a felony traffic stop to take the vehicle into custody, at which point the sole occupant, a black male, jumped out of the driver's seat and ran on foot, ignoring law enforcement commands to stop. The black male was arrested for obstruction, and he was identified as defendant Rashad Murphy. Rashad Murphy was driving the suspect silver Chevy Cruze seen on video at the scene of this homicide during its capture in Georgia. Examination of the Chevy Cruze when compared to the video surveillance footage at the offense scene showed matching damage on the rear passenger side skirt, confirming it is the exact vehicle that was seen arriving at the homicide scene around the same time the black Chevy Impala arrived to carry out the homicide. On 06/26/24, the suspect Chevy Impala was captured in Polk County near the house of Sean Gathwright's family member, witness number 1. Detectives made contact with witness number 1 and obtained a statement from them. Witness number 1 went on to advise that witness number 1 was contacted by Sean Gathwright on the afternoon of 6/23/2024 from his telephone number of Gathwright told witness number 1 that he was on his way to visit and subsequently arrived at the residence sometime during the evening hours of 6/23/2024. Witness number 1 advised that when he arrived, he was driving the black Impala in question. According to witness number 1, During Gathwright's visit, he stated that he had given a ride to a couple of his friends to what witness number 1 assumed was the Tampa area. Gathwright ate dinner at witness number 1's house, went into a bedroom to rest for a short time, and then left to return to Jacksonville. Gathwright left the Chevy Impala at the residence and drove away a gold 2004 Toyota 4Runner, which is also registered to Gathwright's mother, back to Jacksonville. Witness Thamawai advised that prior to switching vehicles, Gathwright removed items from the Impala and transferred them to the 4Runner. Witness number 1 advised that some of these items were camera bags that Gathwright allegedly used to store his photography equipment. Witness number 1 provided consent to detectives to review their video surveillance camera footage. Detectives confirmed Sean Gathwright arrived at this house approximately 12 hours after the homicide at approximately 16:30 hours, wearing all black clothing similar in style to what was observed on surveillance video. Sean Gathwright went inside the house for a couple of hours and then came back outside at approximately 18:30 hours. Sean Gathwright appeared to be wiping or cleaning the vehicle's exterior and interior door handles with a rag, while he appeared to be speaking on a cellular phone. Gathwright also transferred multiple bags into the garage where the 2004 Gold 4Runner bearing FL tag was located, and then he left in the same 4Runner. On 06 to 26/24, during the evening hours, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, ISO, conducted a traffic stop for a traffic infraction on the 4Runner Sean Gathwright was driving. The odor of marijuana was detected in the 4Runner, which led to a probable cause search. During the search, JSO located a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol in the center console. The search also revealed a bag consistent to one scene being transferred from the Impala to the 4Runner at his family member's house. Inside the bag, they located 223 rifle live rounds and approximately 9 rifle spent casings. They also located a loose 9mm barrel and a loose firing pin belonging to a Glock. The barrel and firing pin were determined to come from a Generation 5 9mm Glock. Ultimately, neither the pistol found in the car or the loose barrel and fring pin matched the casings recovered from this homicide. The spent rifle casings found in Sean Gathwright's vehicle did have a presumptive match, awaiting FDLE confirmation, to 2 prior shootings. One of the shootings was a homicide on 05/23/24 in close proximity to a girlfriend of defendant, Isaiah Chance, ISO report in Jacksonville. The second shooting was a prior attempt on the life of victim number 1, Charles Jones, on 10/7/23, ISO report in Jacksonville. On 06/27/24 at approximately 1900 hours, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office executed a co-affiant search warrant in relation to this homicide on the house of Isaiah Chance. Present at Isaiah Chance's house during the execution of the search warrant was his current girlfriend, defendant Alicia Andrews. During their search warrant, JSO observed in plain sight items of evidence that appeared could possibly be linked to our homicide in Tampa, to include a Glock 9mm pistol with an extended magazine, a box to a Generation 5 Glock 9mm firearm, and notes detailing Glock switches in a notebook. ISO detectives also observed a poster of a drawing with fists making a thumbs down symbol and the words "Bully Down" hanging on Chance's bedroom wall. JSO detectives indicated they knew from their intimate knowledge of the rivalry between the ATK and Block gangs was a diss, showing disrespect, to the victim, Charles Jones. The Glock 9mm located at Isaiah Chance's house did not nibin back to this homicide. On 06/27/24 at approximately 1900 hours, JSO simultaneously executed a search warrant at Sean Gathwright's house in reference to one of their own homicide investigations. The scope of their search included any firearms-related items. During that search inside of Sean Gathwright's house, in a gun safe, they located multiple rifles with at least one equipped with a brass catcher consistent with the one seen on camera being used in our homicide of Charles Jones. 2 9mm spent casings were also found in the same safe as the rifles. The spent 9mm spent casings found in Sean Gathwright's safe were a presumptive NIBIN match, awaiting FDLE confirmation to the 9mm spent casings found at the scene of this homicide and attempted homicides that occurred on 06/23/24, providing a link between Sean Gathwright and the Glock pistol used at the scene of this murder and motive evidence for previously trying to kill the victim Charles Jones. Although multiple Glocks were recovered between Sean Gathwright and Isaiah Chance, the actual Glock used in this homicide has not yet been recovered by law enforcement. When Rashad Murphy was found by the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, he was found in possession of an iPhone he was actively using to get GPS directions back to the hotel he was caught driving the vehicle at. Rashad Murphy's girlfriend was inside the hotel room. Gwinnett homicide detective A. Carter conducted a consensual interview with Rashad Murphy's girlfriend, who advised the phone Rashad had with a phone number of was hers. However, she advised she shares the phone with Rashad and he uses it often, which led to obtaining a co-affiant search warrant to search the phone. A search of the phone found in possession of defendant Rashad Murphy provided evidence into this homicide. In the device on June 18, 2024 at 17:59 hours UTC, a photograph was taken of the Florida driver's license belonging to defendant Davion Murphy, providing a link between Rashad Murphy and Davion Murphy. On 06/22/24 at approximately 02:09 hours EST, a photograph was taken which depicted the feet of the person taking the photograph and the floorboard of a vehicle. The person in the photograph was wearing black military-style boots consistent to the appearance of the boots seen on camera worn by Shooter 1. On 06/22/24 at approximately 04:11 EST, a screenshot of an Airbnb rental confirmation was taken which read, "Hello Rashad and thanks for your reservation." The confirmation text in the Airbnb related that per the HOA policy the renter needed to submit a photo of a valid ID. Around the same time, the screenshot of the Airbnb confirmation text was taken. A photo of Rashad Murphy's Florida identification card was also taken. The Airbnb, booked under the name of defendant Rashad Murphy, was identified as a townhouse unit at 3703 Gazebo Pond, Dr. Unit number 102, Tampa, Florida, 33613, approximately 1.3 miles away from the homicide scene. The Airbnb was booked from 06/22/24 to 06/24/24. This was proven to be the Airbnb the defendants stayed at during their time in Tampa. The Airbnb was equipped with a Ring camera at the front door. At approximately 19:55 hours on 06/22/24, defendant Alethea Andrews can be seen ringing the doorbell and entering via the front door. The Ring camera is set to capture any motion near the front door, and there were no further activations throughout the evening of 06/22/24 and going into the day of 06/23/24. The owner of the Airbnb related there is a back door with no camera. Following the homicide, the first activation on the Ring camera at the Airbnb was at approximately 14:09 hours, and it was of defendant Isaiah Chance stepping out briefly with a champagne flute in his left hand. At approximately 15:01 hours, Davion Murphy can be seen walking, carrying a bag in the parking lot. He did not come out via the front door. However, he ultimately comes back into the Airbnb via the front door, passing the camera. Defendants Isaiah Chance and Sean Gathwright passed the Ring camera multiple times. Defendant Alicia Andrews can be seen leaving the Airbnb wearing the same clothing consistent to what she wore during the offense. The Ring video at the defendant's Airbnb placed defendants Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathwright, Alicia Andrews, and Davion Murphy in Tampa and identifiable on camera. Rashad Murphy was not captured on the Airbnb cameras. However, from the Airbnb cameras, a gray Infiniti SUV can be seen waiting in the background as the defendants are leaving. The SUV was ultimately identified as an Uber. The SUV departed from the Airbnb at approximately 15:08 hours on 06/23/24. The Uber was a 2016 gray Infiniti QX60 owned and operated by witness number 2. Witness number 2 related he was hired via the Uber app to drive a customer from Tampa to Jacksonville. Witness number 2 related he picked up 3 people at the Airbnb the defendant stayed at while in Tampa and took those same 3 people to an address known to detectives to be Sean Gathwright's home in Jacksonville. Sean Gathwright's home is equipped with Vivint surveillance cameras. A search warrant was obtained for the Vivint video footage, which revealed the Uber arriving at approximately 18:31 hours on 06 to 23 to 24. In the Vivint footage, defendants Rashad Murphy, Isaiah Chance, and Alicia Andrews can be seen coming from the Uber. Witness number 2 identified the same 3 people seen on the Vivint cameras as the same 3 people he picked up in Tampa, placing defendant Rashad Murphy in Tampa with the other defendants at the Airbnb. On the Vivint video, Rashad Murphy can be seen wearing light blue jeans with a bunch of rips consistent to the ones he was wearing when he got caught driving the suspect's silver Cruze in Georgia during his capture. In addition to capturing footage of the Uber arriving post-homicide, the Vivint cameras at Sean Gathwright's house captured pre-homicide activity. The cameras showed defendants Isaiah Chance and Sean Gathwright loading bags big enough to carry rifles inside of Gathwright's black Chevy Impala in the early afternoon of 06/22/24 prior to beginning their trip to Tampa. Search warrants were obtained for the cell site data for the phones of defendants Isaiah Chance, Sean Gathwright, Alicia Andrews, Davian Murphy, and the device of Rashad Murphy's girlfriend that Rashad uses. It was revealed Rashad Murphy left his girlfriend's phone in Jacksonville and likely traveled to Tampa with no phone of his own. From the geolocation cell site data of Rashad Murphy's phone, it was determined he made a stop at a Walmart in Jacksonville the night before coming down to Tampa on 06/21/24 at 22:24 hours. Video was obtained from the Walmart that showed Rashad Murphy identifiable, and in this video, he was wearing all the clothing consistent with Shooter 1, who fired the Glock switch pistol. Rashad Murphy was wearing a dark black hoodie, long dark black jeans with a rip in the left knee, a black leather belt, and black military-style boots. It should be noted Rashad Murphy is also verified to be left-handed, which is consistent with Shooter 1, who utilized his left hand in the video surveillance from the homicide location. The cell site data from Alicia Andrews' phone showed her phone traveling from Jacksonville, FL, to Tampa, FL. The phone departed Jacksonville at approximately 16:30 hours on 06 to 22/24 and arrived in Tampa, FL at the Airbnb at approximately 1950 hours. Andrews' phone was tracking to the Airbnb. At the same time, she was seen on camera there, arriving at the front door at 1955 hours with a phone in her hand. Prior to departing to Teasers, Andrews' phone traveled to a McDonald's at 2205 Fletcher Ave at approximately 0140 hours. Video footage was obtained from that McDonald's, which shows Andrews in the front passenger seat of the Cruze, and at the time of the McDonald's food run, Davion Murphy was driving the Cruze. Post Miranda Alicia Andrews related Isaiah Chance was in the back seat of the Cruze during the McDonald's run and claimed she didn't know who was driving the Cruze at that time. Andrews' phone returns to the Airbnb before heading to Teasers. Andrews' phone placed it at Teasers at the same time she was seen on camera there as a passenger of the Cruze and later seen exiting the Cruze. Andrews' call detail records, CDR, show communication to Sean Gathwright's phone while at Teasers. Andrews' phone tracked to Truth 18 nightclub at the same time she was seen on camera at that location. Andrews' phone also tracked to the homicide scene at the same time the Cruze was seen on camera there. Andrews' phone tracked to the Airbnb post-homicide and was tracking there when she was seen on camera leaving the Airbnb. Andrews' phone tracked at Sean Gathwright's house in Jacksonville when she is seen arriving there on camera. A search warrant of Alicia Andrews verified Instagram account Red revealed messages sent on 06/21/24 asking someone to book an Airbnb for her in Tampa, FL, for 06/22/24. Andrews asked for something with 2 bedrooms, showing that Andrews was trying to get someone else to book the Airbnb in Tampa under their name. However, it was ultimately booked under Rashad Murphy's name. An Apple iCloud warrant of Andrews' phone revealed on 3 separate occasions while following the victim's entourage on 6/23/24, her phone shared its location with the phone of Sean Gathright. Alicia Andrews provided a post-Miranda statement where she identified herself in all the footage she was seen in and identified Isaiah Chance as the male driving the suspect vehicle, the Silver Cruise, while it was tracking the victim's movements. Andrews admitted to allowing Isaiah Chance to use her phone while he communicated with Sean Gathright. Alicia Andrews denied knowledge of this homicide and was caught lying multiple times during her interview. Andrews related she was only at Teasers and Truth 18 because she and Chance were thinking of going to party there. Andrews related she and Chance went up to the front doors of both clubs to ask how much it was to get in. However, that was proven to be a lie via the continuous video surveillance cameras the front doors of both clubs. Andrews even admitted to her and Chance being in the cruise at the homicide scene, however clommed they were just lost and were turning around in that parking lot, denying knowing the victims were there. Sean Gathright's phone was the most active phone in the Impala. It also travels down from Jacksonville at the same time as the others. Gathright's phone is in the vicinity of his house when he is on Vivint camera there with his Impala. Gathright's phone is in the vicinity of Teasers when his Impala was on camera there. Gathright's phone is in the vicinity of Truth 18 when his Impala is seen on camera there. Gathright's phone is in the vicinity of the homicide scene at the same time his Impala and the shooters are seen on camera there. Gathright's phone was still in the vicinity of the homicide scene even after the crews left before the shooting began, indicating his phone was in the shooter's vehicle, the Impala. Gathright's phone is in the vicinity of the Airbnb in Tampa when he is seen on camera there while holding a phone in his hand. Gathright's phone was in the vicinity of his family member's house when he is seen on camera there concealing his Impala in the garage post-homicide. Gathright's CDR shows communication during the homicide weekend with Alicia Andrews' phone and Isaiah Chance's phone. An iCloud search warrant on Sean Gathright's phone revealed Apple Instant Messages, IM, where Gathright's phone messages a female. He asked her to contact a male who was with the victims, attempting to solicit updates on the victim's location from 0132 hours to 0225 hours on 06/23/24 and stop messaging that person after the suspect crews had a line of sight on the victim in front of Teasers. Isaiah Chance's phone was not as active since he primarily used Alicia Andrews' phone during the surveillance and tracking of the victim's vehicle. However, it too also tracked from Jacksonville to Tampa. Chance's phone tracked to 15 Wise, Hillsboro on 06/23/24 at the same time the Silver Cruise hit an LPR there. Chance's phone also tracked to the homicide scene at the same time the cruise was seen on camera there. Chance's phone was in the vicinity of the Airbnb at the same time he is seen on the Ring camera there holding a phone. Chance's CDR shows communication from his phone to the phones of all of the other suspects throughout the homicide weekend, to include Rashad Murphy's girlfriend's phone. A Cash App subpoena of Chance's verified Cash App account, Mr. Richoff War, revealed around the same time the Airbnb confirmation screenshot was taken on Rashad Murphy's phone. A charge of $361.16 was made on his Cash App card paid to Airbnb. It appeared that even though the Airbnb the defendant stayed at was booked under Rashad Murphy's name, it was financed by Isaiah Chance's Cash App account. Davion Murphy's phone also tracked from Jacksonville to Tampa with the rest of the suspects. Davion's phone is in the vicinity of McDonald's on Fletcher at the same time he is seen on camera driving the cruise there. Davian's phone is in the vicinity of the Airbnb at the same time he is seen on camera there. Davian's phone tracked to Lake Butler at 18:02 hours on 06/23/24. At the same time, the Silver Cruise hit an LPR there on the way back to Jacksonville. Based off Davian's phone hitting with the cruise on its way back to Jacksonville, it was apparent that post-homicide, Sean Gathright drove his suspect Impala to conceal it at his family member's house in Polk County. Davian Murphy took the suspect cruise back to Jacksonville, and the other three defendants, Isaiah Chance, Rashad Murphy, and Alicia Andrews, traveled back to Jacksonville in the Uber. There was evidence that Rashad Murphy likely did not have his own phone during his time in Tampa. The cloud warrant on Sean Gathright's phone revealed at approximately 12:58 hours and 13:01 hours on 06/23/24, Gathright's phone messaged two separate numbers while they were still at the Airbnb in Tampa. One message read, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched. I pop a bottle of Don Julio today, Murphy." And the other message read, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched. I love you, Murphy." A Murphy signed his name to both messages sent from Gathright's phone, and it was proven Davian Murphy had his own phone. JSO gang detectives with intimate knowledge of Charles Jones, aka Julio Foolio, and his 6-block gang know that sipping on Don Julio is intended as disrespect to Charles Jones himself. The motive for this homicide is tied to an ongoing feud spanning years between Charles Jones' 6-block gang and two rival gangs, ATK and 1200 allied together. Defendant Lasiah Chance is a documented ATK gang member, and defendants Rashad Murphy and Davion Murphy are documented 1200 gang members. The feud between 6-block and its rival gangs, ATK and 1200, has spanned over a decade with dozens of murders by and against both sides. It was apparent the defendants worked together, acting in concert to actively hunt and ultimately kill Charles Jones as a part of this gang feud. The medical examiner determined the cause of death for Charles Jones to be a homicide. The undersigned assistant state attorney certifies that they have received testimony under oath supporting the grounds and the essential facts alleged in the motion. The state respectfully requests this honorable court to order pre-trial detention as the defendant committed these offenses. There is a substantial probability that the defendant committed, and the factual circumstances of the crimes indicate a disregard for the safety of the community, and there are no conditions of release to sufficiently protect the community from the risk of physical harm to persons. The defendant and his co-defendants tracked and stalked the victim, Charles Jones, to 3 separate public locations in Hillsborough County with the intent of killing him by utilizing 3 gunmen who were heavily armed. There were innocent citizens located at all 3 locations. At the final location, the parking lot of a hotel, the 3 armed men fired in the public lot, firing multiple times at 3 vehicles containing the victim and his friends and associates. The victim was shot and killed. 3 other victims were injured in the gunfire. The defendant committed these crimes that indicate a complete disregard for the safety of the community, and no, there are no conditions of release to sufficiently protect the community from the risk of physical harm to persons. In the alternative, the state respectfully requests this honorable court to order pretrial detention as the defendant committed these offenses. There is probable cause to believe the defendant committed the offenses, and there are no conditions of bond that will ensure the presence of the defendant. The defendant is a flight risk with no known ties to the community. The defendant made statements to law enforcement that he intends to flee the state. In the alternative, the state requests this honorable court to deny bond based upon finding that proof is evident or the presumption in great, and bond is not appropriate in this case. Wherefore, based on the foregoing, The state respectfully prays this honorable court to order pretrial detention or, in the alternative, deny bond based upon finding that proof is evident or the presumption in great.
Omegadrip exclusives.